Church History Hidden and Distorted. Episode 4, Joseph Smith Jr.'s Four First Visions. Welcome to the Hidden and Distorted History of the Church series, where we will be looking at the historical aspects of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, also known as the Mormons. In this series, I will try and inform those unaware of the true facts of Mormon history. Last week, we took a look at Joseph Smith Jr. and his involvement in the occult, as well as his treasure digging up to 1825. This week I will be covering the claimed first vision, or more like the four first visions. There are more than 4 official accounts of the first vision, but many of them are debated. But we have 4 that even the LDS Church does not outright reject. According to LDS apologist Stephen C. Harper, the first vision accounts were created in specific historical settings that shape what they say and how they say it. Each of the accounts of Joseph Smith's first vision has its own history. Each was created in circumstances that shaped how it was remembered and communicated, and thus how it was transmitted to us. Each account has gaps and omissions. Each adds detail and richness. How important is the Book of Mormon? Joseph Smith called it the keystone of our religion. Take away the Book of Mormon and the Revelations, he said, and where is our religion? We have none. Ezra Taft Benson, former LDS president. I will begin this story with Joseph Smith at age 14 according to the LDS Church, though some accounts we will look at have him between the ages of 15 and 16. As I mentioned the last episode, Smith Jr. had a fascination for religion. He attended religious revivals within his community. So let's hear what the LDS Church states in their official version. Joseph Smith claimed at 14 years of age that he had been confused by which of the many different Christian denominations there were, and which was the true Church of God, that he had gone to a grove nearby his home in Upper New York State to pray. While he was in the grove, he claimed to have prayed to God concerning which church to join, as he was confused between the sects. Smith asserted that while praying, he was attacked by an overwhelming force of darkness, and that it was overcome by a beam of light which presented God and Jesus Christ, or so the personages claimed to be. He asked God which of the churches he should join, but he was instructed to join none. Smith stated that he was instructed to wait, that God, Jesus, would later guide him upon the true church at a later date. This account is the one LDS members know and know very well. Yet what they are not aware of is that this account is the third of 4, and comes from 1838, 18 years after the claimed event took place. The official storyline is Joseph was 14 years old. On a spring day in 1820, 14-year-old Joseph Smith sought solitude in a grove of trees and prayed to know which church was true. Yet Smith Jr. tells us otherwise. I was at this time in my 15th year. Who is correct, Joseph or the church itself? Here are examples of how Joseph Smith Jr. made the details richer, as according to Stephen C. Harper. Let's quickly look at the 4 statements from Joseph concerning his age for the 4 uncontested versions of the first vision. Version 1, 1832. In the 16th year of my age, a pillar of light above the brightness of the sun at noonday came down from above and rested upon me. Version 2, 1835. I was about 14 years old when I received this first communication. Version 3, 1838. I was at this time in my 15th year. Version 4, 1842. When about 14 years of age, I began to reflect upon the importance of being prepared for a future state. Why would the first account of the first vision be written down 12 years after it supposedly happened? Not only did Joseph struggle to keep the details of his age, his accounts changed for the better each telling. Let's take a look at each. 1832 First Vision Account. I saw the Lord, and he spake unto me, saying, Joseph, my son, thy sins are forgiven thee. Go thy way, walk in my statutes, and keep my commandments. Behold, I am the Lord of glory. I was crucified for the world. Clearly in this account, Joseph Smith states he was visited by Jesus, as he drops us a clue in the above quote with, I saw the Lord, I was crucified for the world. In this first account, Jesus merely tells Smith that the Christian church has fallen and no longer follows his teachings, but only pay lip service. Behold, the world lieth in sin at this time, and none doeth good, no, not one. They have turned aside from the gospel and keep not my commandments. They draw near to me with their lips, while their hearts are far from me. Behold, and lo, I come quickly, as it is written of me in the cloud, clothed in the glory of my Father. There is no doubt this is supposed to be Jesus, but wait, this is not what LDS Mormon members believe or are taught. What do they believe? We'll get to that in the 1838 account. The LDS Church's apologists claim that Smith wrote a part about the atonement of Christ himself. He wrote in his own hand that as a result of the vision, my soul was filled with love, and for many days I could rejoice with great joy, and the Lord was with me. The issue we face here is that Smith could not write. Emma said he could barely form a word. Joseph Smith could neither write nor dictate a coherent and well-worded letter. 1835 First Vision account. Stephen C. Harper then goes on to tell us, 3 years later, in 1835, an eccentric visitor from the East inquired of Joseph, whose scribe captured some of Joseph's response in his journal. In this account, Joseph cast the vision as the first in a series of events that led to the translation of the Book of Mormon. So we are told of an eccentric visitor by Stephen C. Harper above, and that is, was captured by a scribe. We are not told much by Harper, and he is vague as to whose scribe we are being told of. Fortunately for us, we know the LDS Church claimed the scribe was of the eccentric visitor. But we know that is incorrect, as we know whom the visitor was and also who the scribe was. The eccentric visitor was none other than a man named Robert Matthews, also known as Joshua the Jew or Joshua the Jewish minister, among several other names. It is important to touch briefly upon this person, as it sets up the credibility of Smith's claims. I will use the name Joshua the Jew, as that is the name he went by when he met with Smith in 1835. Joshua the Jew believed he was the Apostle Matthias, reincarnated and led a small Christian sect himself. He was also accused of murder, but acquitted on a lack of evidence, though he was accused of fraud and jailed for assault. When he was released from prison is when he left for Ohio to meet with Smith. As a note of interest, Matthews was later committed to a mental institution for a period of time before his death. Why is Joshua the Jew important? Because their meeting was to discuss reincarnation and resurrection, to debate which of them had the authoritative power of God and prophecy. And the LDS Church knows who Robert Matthews is, yet still avoid calling him by name. This is how we get the 1835 First Vision account. Joshua the Jew wanted to know the story, and Smith was more than happy to relate it to him. Not only was Smith willing to relate the account, he added upon his 1832 version by claiming that first God appeared to him, and soon after Jesus then came. Recall that in the 1832 account, only Jesus appears to Smith, not two personages. Smith also claims that he saw angels at the end, and I saw many angels in this vision. Here we have two changes from the first account. Yet this is not the only change to our first account told of. This account we first hear of a presence or spirit that tried to attack Smith before God, and then Jesus comes. This is not present in the first account. The first account only had Smith aware of his sins and Jesus God absolving him of those. The 1835 account was transcribed by Warren Parrish, Smith's own personal scribe, not Robert Matthews' scribe. The 1838 account has Joseph Smith claiming that at the time of the first vision, he had been confused as to which Christian sect was correct, who held the true teachings of Jesus, and that he turned to the Epistle of James 1:5, took comfort in the advice, went out to a grove nearby, and intended to pray to God Jesus for wisdom. This time we get a much more detailed version of the spiritual attack upon himself, before he overcame it, and a bright light appeared. So far, we're not too far off from the 1832 and 1835 accounts. We're just seeing additions to it. The next conflict we encounter in the 1838 account, though, is that Smith claims that God and Jesus both came to him at the same time. Recall that in 1835's account, first God came, then Jesus. So here we have another change in this account. First God speaks to him, then Jesus, which differs from the other accounts so far. The first two accounts are short and sweet, and God Jesus do not say much other than reported. But in the 1838 account, Smith states, "And many other things did he say unto me, which I cannot write at this time." As we can see, Smith keeps adding to his claimed first vision. Let's see what the last account we will cover says. 1842 First Vision account. The 1842 account is known as the Wentworth Letters, and was a request from the editor of the Chicago Democrat named John Wentworth, whom was writing a history on the church. The story pretty much remains the same as the preceding account in 1838, minus that Smith first states both God and Jesus looked alike, and where the LDS Church gets the belief that Smith received the revelation that God Jesus would later bring forth the restoration of the original Christian church. We do not get that there will be a restoration in the 1832-1835 nor the 1838 accounts. This is new. In summary, many parts within the Fourth Vision accounts we quickly looked at conflict with one another, from what age he was, from what happened before the vision of a personage. First there was one person, then two people, but not at the same time, then both personages at the same time with angels, then a restored gospel to come. This just shows Smith never had a concrete story down, making it up as he was asked. He kept adding to the retelling, making it grander each time to reflect claims he had been currently proposing. It is without doubt that Smith's comments cannot be trusted. They are fanciful, they are inconsistent, and if presented in a court today, it would be rejected, lacking credibility, as it keeps on changing on important points. Next week, we will be looking at the claimed Moroni visitation. And did Joseph Smith claim it was Nephi at first? I hope you enjoyed this episode and gained some new knowledge. Please watch for future videos, and thank you so kindly for watching. This is the Ex-Mormon Informant signing off for the day.